Okay, hi guys and welcome to the show. In today's episode of Wristwatch Talk, I'm going to share my top 5 tips for you to save money and get that watch you've always wanted. Now, of course, before I get into the video, I've got to do wristwatch check, and I am indeed doing a Schwarzkopf. If you're new to the channel, it's when I wear 2 watches. I call it a Schwarzkopf in honor of General Schwarzkopf, Storming Norman. Today, I've got a really cool combination. The Jubilee bracelet for my GMT has indeed arrived, so I'm chuffed to bits, really enjoying it on the Jubilees. It's got that flimsy feel, I just love it. And then of course I have my Casio data bank, very retro, but actually very useful because I've got all the stopwatch functions and 5 alarms that I use to remind me, because my memory is terrible. So it's very useful for reminding me throughout the days, work-related deadlines, that kind of thing. This was a Christmas gift. Again, chuffed to bits. So what a pair. What a pair indeed. Anyway, wristwatch check done. Let's roll the intro and get into today's video. So my top 5 tips that I personally use to save for that next watch. Now, before we get into this, I've got to say one thing. Whatever you do, it's much better to always save. Never get into debt for buying a watch. It's just not worth it. You know, you're going to end up spending more. You've got interest to think about. You're putting yourself in a weak position financially, and one must never do that for a wristwatch. It's simply not worth it. If you cannot afford the watch you want, be patient. Wait and save. And look, for $10, buy a Casio F91W. It has a, 7-year battery? I can't remember. I've reviewed it. It will last you. It will tell you more accurate time than any Swiss timepiece. Just hang in there, save, and trust me, the feeling of accomplishment is worth it. It really is. And it makes that final destination of getting to that watch that little bit sweeter. So hang in there. Save, and hopefully these 5 tips will help you. These are not in order of priority, so please guys, you know, put them in your own order of importance. This is just merely for my own reference. So we'll start at number 5. Whenever you get paid or you get some money incoming, always put a little bit aside. And it's important to do it as soon as you get paid. Make sure you split that money up. What I like to do, I like to put aside a little bit of money every week. Whenever I get paid for anything, with work, when I get my wages, I put a little bit aside each and every time for the watch I'm saving for. Look at it like this. If you save just $25 a week, in a month you've got $100. In a year you've got $1,200. That is a really nice Oris Aquis. If you want to save up quicker, then put more money aside. So it really mounts up. Another great little tip is to always save your change. This is my 1930s Lucky Joe. This is the Joe Louis, the boxer. I put all my change, actually, I put my quarters in here. You will not believe how fast this thing fills up. And before you know it, you know, you've got 50 bucks, 20, 50 bucks to put towards your watch fund. Always put something aside and start a watch fund. Have a little private stash. Nobody has to know. You know, maybe a little box hidden under the mattress, an extra saving account at the bank perhaps, anything, a little stash somewhere you put that money in every week. If you're really good, you can put aside some money every single day. So get that started, get that organized, and have your funds in one place, and never take money from it. Just put money in. That's crucially important. The only time you take the money out is when you've got enough money and you go to buy that timepiece that you've set that, as a goal. Okay, so that was number 5. Number 4, consolidation. Now this really applies to collectors that have been collecting a while. If you're new to collecting, this will not apply to you yet, but if you have a collection, look at what you got. Consolidate. Are there watches that are overlapping? Are there watches that you don't wear that much? Then they need to go. Never have safe queens. And what do I mean by safe queen? It's a watch usually of high value that sits in a safe. Watches are supposed to be worn. If you're not wearing it, sell it. The only time I think is a legitimate excuse is if you've bought a watch as an investment, if it's something very rare, maybe you shouldn't wear, then of course keep it in the safe. But look, if it's a safe queen and it's not being worn, sell it, honestly. Some of you may want to keep watches to hand down the next generation, but guys, always remember, if you inherit a watch, you want the watch that was worn by your father or your grandfather or your relative, because then it adds that extra sentimental value. What use is it if it's sitting in the safe and it was never worn by the person that it belonged to? So rarely look at your collection. Sometimes, I know we fall in love with watches, but you've got to be ruthless. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice in order to get that watch you really, really want. And I think overlapping watches is a thing that a lot of collectors experience. You'll have several divers all in different colors. Do you really need them? Do you really need them? I'm battling with this as we speak. And actually, it's about time I do a new state of the collection. I'll probably do it next month. Some of you might be shocked, but I have actually managed to consolidate quite a bit. It's not easy. Sometimes you have to, because we love these pieces, but sometimes you've got to be ruthless. You have to have no mercy, for the greater good, for the collection further down the road. Don't worry about ticking boxes when collecting, because then you start buying things you don't even wear, you don't even need. So consolidation, very, very important. Okay, that was number 4. Number 3, buy smart. And this applies not just to collecting watches. Do your research. Don't ever do impulse buys. Wait. Try watches on, get out there, go to stores, do as much research. Look on Chrono24, look on eBay, check out watch dealers. Always buy from reputable dealers and buy used. Let somebody else take the retail price hit for you. You can save a hell of a lot of money. And if you save money, you can buy that watch sooner because you have to save less. It's obvious, right? It's basic economics. Research and you shop around, you can find a better deal, and it's going to be sooner to that moment that you finally get that watch. So always buy smart. I've made this mistake. Buy quality, not quantity, okay? It is worth sometimes to hold out, to go all the way. With my GMT, for example, I went through a lot of GMTs, and I had to come to the realization that this is the one for me. Other times, I had a comment the other day from a supporter of the channel. They were lusting after the Rolex GMT. They bought a Glycine Airman, which is another iconic watch, and they've actually been satisfied with that watch ever since. They actually found that the one they were, that they really wanted was not the one they thought. So sometimes it can work. You have to experience as many watches as you can. So it's a balance. But the more you know, the more you experience, the more you research you do, the more you get out there, and the wider net you cast, the more chances that you're gonna find that right watch. You can save a hell of a lot of money if you just. It's like that Tarantino quote, you've got to come to terms with your own fears and desires. Don't rush into things. Don't make impulse buys. Buy smart. Buy used, especially. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 2, and that is not to settle, specifically homage watches. Now, I don't want to get into the whole discussion. Some people love them, some people loathe them, some people don't mind them. I don't mind. I'm kind of on the fence. It really depends on the situation. For example, I bought a Steinhardt homage to the Rolex Explorer reference 1655, you know, the Steve McQueen. Now that watch, it's a 15 grand watch used, or thereabout, right? It's a watch that I wasn't really sure about. I wanted to kind of scratch that itch, so I bought the Steinhardt. I since sold the Steinhardt, but in a way, it saved me a hell of a lot of money, because I realized, actually, you know what? I don't want that watch. You know, it's not the right GMT. I ended up going with this one in the end. But if you're saving up for something of a few grand, let's say you're saving up for a used Datejust, right? Don't spend $500 on a homage. Put that $500 towards and save. You know, get an affordable alternative. Just get an entry-level Seiko Citizen, you know, day-date with a fluted bezel, or that looks similar to your Datejust, right? For the moment, that will serve perfectly fine. Don't spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, you know, $500-600 on a homage watch. Save that money, because every bit you save, it's less time that you have to wait to getting the final thing, right? It's a balance. Don't settle. Sometimes you've got to be strong. At the same time, there are people that just refuse point blank. They do not want to buy a Rolex Submariner. They have family commitments, they have financial commitments. They just don't feel justified in spending that amount of money, but yet they want a little bit of that Submariner feel. You've got to come to terms with what's important for you. So maybe settling is excusable in that regard, but generally, if you're saving, stick to your guns. Okay, number one, and it's absolutely obvious, and that is to cut down on expenditure everywhere else. What do I mean by that? You know, if you order takeaways, cut down, learn to cook at home yourself. You can save a hell of a lot of money. Going to Starbucks, I did a video a long time ago showing it with you know, a little investment in a Bialetti espresso maker. You can make much better coffee at home. You know, that overrated Starbucks rubbish. You're spending $5-10 every time you go into Starbucks. Make it yourself. Say all of this saves money, and you can put towards that final Grail watch, right? A little bit there, like that old British saying, look after the pennies and they will look after the pound. For example, you're going out to a bar, have some wine before you go. You know, don't have, you know how expensive it is. It's ridiculous. Actually, the same goes for going to restaurants. But don't be so frugal that you never take your loved ones out. You know, I like to go on dates with my wife. Maybe instead of every week, go every other week. Make a little sacrifice there, a little sacrifice here. But at the end of the day, it's a balance. You have to live. Life is short, okay? It's about prioritizing. It's about, you know, make lists. Get on top of the situation. And when you have an overview of your finances, you can really understand where you can cut corners. Every time you cut back, save a little bit of money, that's more money to put into your stash, your little, your private watch fund, all right? And always keep it private, you know? That's a little tip. And keep in the back of your mind, whenever buying anything, ask yourself, do I really need this? Do I need a second car? Do I need, you know, another pair of, I don't know, John Lobs or whatever it is? Honestly, I try and live quite minimally. You know, I have a small apartment. I do spend a lot of money on watches, but that's because it's important to me. You've got to prioritize. You've got to think about what is important to you. There are a million things that you can save money on. You know, instead of going to the gym, I work out at home. I mean, I loathe gyms anyway, but the more I can be self-reliant on things, the better. After a little while, and you've saved a little bit here, a little bit there, it all mounts up and you will get that watch. Anyway guys, a very quick video. I just wanted to address these 5 little tips that I pretty much do every week, every day. Always keep in the back of your mind. Keep your eye on the prize and you will get that watch. Guys, please do share your bits of advice in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback, especially on this. Let's try and help as many people as we can save and get that watch, no matter what it is. No matter if it's a Lange or a Rolex or a Seiko Sumo. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.